All right. I guess there's no use stalling. Oh, ba, 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 ba. Just mic volume. There we go. Hopefully that's less offensive. All right. So meme review. I kind of hit a wall this month. At least this last little bit. Um, uh, just couldn't think of anything personally. Ran out of steam uh, about the whole meme thing this week. So I created this. Uh, that's my dog. Uh, my dog. We had him for a really long time, and we had to rehome him with my parents. So he's living his best life. So no worries there. Because he was getting really territorial and snappy with my kids, and so it was like there was a lot of tension. So I couldn't have him be doing that. So he's living his best life, and the parents were like, "Huh, something is eating his food," and they kind of live out in the country. So my dad, being the mechanical engineering autist that he is, set up some cameras in the dining room to figure out what was eating the dog's food. So I used AI to kind of composite this together, and I made it look like Sif the Great Wolf from Dark Souls, but I couldn't get the prompt to properly put a sword in his mouth, which is unfortunate because he has no teeth. Uh, but um, yeah, so that's the origin of this one. I also wanted to share before we got started. I might revisit this uh, on next Wednesday, just to kind of see. But there's this thing called the WarGameLibrary.com. It is through these guys called Little Wars TV, and they have a ton of free rule sets. Now, a lot of these rule sets are older, or they're like a quick start, or so they're kind of like a preview to kind of get you to go to the publisher, to the rules writer's website. But some of these are like certified hood classics, like De Bellis Antiquitatis. This is the full rule set. Like, this is not like a preview or anything. This is just free. This came out in 1990. Um, and like I said, I think Wednesday we'll go. I'm going to spend some more time with this, but it's just incredible. It runs the gamut. You can filter by skirmish. So if you want to see skirmish, you've got Fubar, you've got Fire at Sea, you've got Raven's Feast, Ruthless Trafalgar, Undersea Boat. You have kind of big battle stuff that's kind of scale agnostic. Fistful of T-34s, which is a version of Fistful of Toes. I don't know how good that would play, because the last time I tried to read a Fistful of Toes, it broke my friggin' brain. So there's that. We got some War of the Roses stuff. We've got a micro armor game. We've got Oi Navarco, hopefully. And then Hoplomachia, which is hoplite battles of classical Greek age. You've got these rules that were made like 20 years ago, and specifically you have a lot of the foundational rule books of all time. So you have DBA. You have this, which is the official U.S. Army training game for platoon and company commanders during the Cold War. This is one that I want to really look at, and it looks really friggin' cool. And I absolutely want to dive into that next game. You have the original, the OG, the literal OG, Little Wars by H.G. Wells. There's the man himself. He's probably looking at this and like, we use some fucking Martians, giant tripods up in this bitch. Look at that. So, yeah, H.G. Wells, Little Wars. You have Fubar, which is a one-page rule. You have Kriegspiel from 18 24. It is in German, so good luck with that. And this is a rule set that's kind of gatekeep, kind of their subscription models that they have. But honestly, 19 U.S. Navy 1905 rules for Naval War College. Just some excellent, not only just good rule sets and fun rule sets, but also a lot of historically significant rule sets, which I think is key to this being a wargaming library. So, and it's also got favorites, beginners, classics, and it's got, sword and board, horse and musket, world wars. So, oh boy, I am not looking, well, I don't know. I am looking forward to this reading these chapters, and I'm not because I've already read them, and they're pain. That's all I can really iterate, is that this book, right? It's done a really good job of not engaging in the pronoun game, right? And this chapter just boom, just hits this you're about, oh, this is pretty good. I don't know where they're talking about. Brian Young's not a woke author. He's just terrible. And then they just crank you over the head with them extra strength. And I feel like it's going to be like this for the rest of the book, because I feel like that's how these quote unquote authors always do it, is they rope you in by making you oh, this isn't woke, this is fine. And then 3 chapters in, it's just pronouns fucking everywhere. So let's not waste any time, shall we? Let's not waste any time. So we're going to go through my usual summary of events up to this point. They is a pronoun, but not when you're talking about a single person. So, kind of like I usually do with my streams, I go over the summary of events so far, just to kind of keep people up to date. So we have, the prologue. Calendar Cal goes to Timkovichi, meets Brian Young, self-insert, a guy named Old Tom Frost, trying to write music in a city that was destroyed by the Jade Falcons because he digs the vibe. Yeah, man. So it's like going to a concentration camp and yo, I really like the vibes here. It helps me write my music. Everybody would be like, bro, what's wrong with you? Yeah, the camp where they liquidated all these people, it's vibe coded. It's like, bro, what? So anyways, he's doing that. So Calendar Kel shows up and he says, well, are you here to liberate the planet? And Calendar Kel goes, Lamau, no. Drops off a monument and leaves, despite the fact that she brought a fortress dropship and enough firepower to raffle stomp whatever the Jade Falcons had left on the planet. Because at this point in the story, it's critical to remember, this is the prologue, nobody else is on the planet trying to claim it. It's just the Jade Falcons. So instead of stomping a mud hole in the Falcons that are on planet, she just left. It's okay, well, I'm here. I spent all this time and energy and fuel to get my ship onto planet. I might as well do the job while I'm here. Nope. So anywho, so the next chapters kind of introduce us to our main character, Colonel Hank Mallory, who is a stupid person. He's not a very good tactician. He's working for a local pharmaceutical company on a planet called Kirkcaldy, so the Steiners can put chemicals in the water to turn the friggin' Trinos gay. As a result, they capture these 3 SIB cadets that were basically stranded by the Jade Falcons on their rush to Earth before the Jade Falcons got raffle stomped by the wolves. And as they're organizing to leave, they get a message from Calendar Kel saying, "Hey, come to Ark Royal." So he tells this crew of people who kind of know, like it's like a very, it seems like it's a very poorly kept secret that they are Kellhounds, or that they were formerly Kellhounds. And he's like, this is, the book treats this as a huge revelation, and he treats this as a huge revelation as well, when it's not really a huge revelation at this juncture for most of the people involved. Um, so, anyways, shows up on Ark Royal, and he's given his mandate: liberate Timkovichi, and let the planet either self-determine what they want to do, or to whether exist as an independent planet or join the Ark Royal Defense Coalition. And Mallory is told his son Keith wants to join on this mission, so Calendar sends Keith, so his boy, so Hank's boy, with him, but doesn't give him a mech, even though he's a Kellhound sergeant, and that should be just a thing that goes with him, but he doesn't. Why? Don't know. Never explained. So he's reuniting with his kid because he's kind of been estranged from him for like the last 10 years. And he is written very female coded. Like, he refuses to take accountability. He's conflict avoidant. He's not very demanding as an officer, which are all perfect traits for someone leading an independent mercenary company. You really want somebody that's like, oh geez, I would really wish I hope you could do this thing for me. It's like, okay, that's all right. Next, Hank finds out that he gets, as they're on the way to Timkovichi, they stop, they are recharging, jump ship passes by, drops him, communique from their point of contact on the planet, a guy named Troubadour, who says, hey, we've got Steiners, we've got Mercs, and we've got Jade Falcons on the planet. You need to be ready to move once you get here. So instead of planning for these contingencies with 9 full days of lead time before they actually hit dirt, he does nothing to proactively plan for this and just makes it up on the fly. Chapters 9 through 11 are basically terribly written mech fighting with no regard to tactics that any Battletech player might conceivably recognize. And then we get to meet in chapter 12 Nighthawks, the man, the myth, the legend. So far, the standout character of this novel, because it is such a just clear, crystal clear author insert. Old Tom Frost. So, chapter 12, we found out that Old Tom Frost is the spider in this web. He admits he lies and plants false information. Fake news. He does nothing but spread fake news all the time. I always told her, don't listen to Old Tom Frost. He spreads fake news. So he does this to mess with each faction in play. Why each of these factions would listen to this homeless looking dickhead is never explained. And then chapter 12 through 14, we see Brian engaging in a typical millennial food coffee fetishization, where nothing of consequence or conversation of import happens unless somebody is drinking coffee, talking about food, having food, being in a restaurant, doing all this, blah, 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 blah. So Hank and his mech warriors are given information to contact resistance forces on the planet, which is the first time that we've heard that there is actually resistance on the planet. So we're 13 chapters in at this point, and we're just now learning that there's an active resistance on this planet when that was never established at any point beforehand. Like, the part where Calendar Kel gives him this mission, like, hey, we're sending you to this planet because the mandate from the mandate from Calendar is like, hey, go here, stomp the Falcons out, repulse the Lyrans, blah. And now we find out there's actual resistance movement on the planet, and you would think that's something that would be actionable intelligence that Calendar would use and tell, like, hey, we're gonna do some Grey Death Legion shit here, Hank. There's like 3 different huge main settlements on the planet. I need you to rile up the local resistance, get them all on the same wavelength, make sure everybody's shit is in one sock, and I need you to help liberate that planet. Okay, now we have a story. Now we have setup for this, but it's just not done. So, anyways, they get this contact information. So Mallory takes one of their takes all 3 of their clanner bondsmen, and they go to one city. So each group goes to like one city. It's like Hank, his son, and Ching Mai, the Jade Falcon warrior, and then his second in command, Ilsa, and another girl, Raven, and they both have a clanner attached to the hip, and they're trying to do this incognito, but they're just talking openly about what they're doing. Like, they're just talking about, like, oh yeah, no, we're totally gonna case this place. Yeah, we're looking for the resistance. Has anybody seen the resistance? And it's like, oh. So eventually they meet some people. They find out there's more Falcons than they initially thought. There's more Lyrans than they initially thought. And leading into chapter 15, staying with Blood and Whiskey, a chapter title with more edge than a pizza cutter, we finally get to see what happens where they're trying to find this third wheel unit, this third faction on the planet. These mysterious mercenaries that they came across during the fighting of Radagast. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. The cities, all the cities that they're on this planet are named after terms for the wizards in Lord of the Rings. Very clever. My favorite so far is the obvious elemental asking for access to anti-Jade Falcon resistance, and they're like, "Yep, right this way, sir." That's actually addressed in a chapter, not chapter 15, stained with blood and whiskey, which has more edge than a pizza cutter. But that's actually going to be in the next chapter, and the explanation behind that is equally retarded as the rest of this novel. So basically, we get this guy Rufo, who's kind of a drunk, and him and his boy Scotty, they're basically bar hopping on this planet to find where these mercenaries are hanging out. So, Bert's Mecha Lounge, Sage, Timkovichi, The Hinterlands, 28 August 3152. Rufo had gone to 100 dive bars with Scotty Jardine over the years, but this was one of the dirtiest he'd ever been in. The walls were plastered a centimeter thick with old band posters, printed news clippings, and pop culture detritus Rufo would never hope to understand, except for the signed photo of Holovid star Duncan Treat. It was a classic action headshot replete with big sunglasses, looking like he'd filmed one of his vids inside Bert's Mecha Lounge. Rufo nodded. This would be a good place. Dressed in black synth leather jackets and red denim trousers, Kellhound colors all the way, they found at a flea market. They were looking for the diviest of dives. Like all of them, this one reeked of day-old urine, stale beer, and weak booze, and though the stink they were trying to find out anything about those mercenary armor units that shown up in Radagast, the only major problem. So this is something that he does a lot in this chapter. Is he'll say, like, the only minor, parentheses, major, in parentheses, problem was that this was a 6 dive bar they patronized tonight, and Rufo had to admit he might have had a little, parentheses, lot, in parentheses, too much to drink. So if he was a better writer, he would probably just assume that by saying, you know, the only minor problem. So, like, you could have deleted those words and you could have got the same thing across, that basically they were going to bar. They were trying to do a job and they were getting blasted. So, like, I'll read it without those words. The only minor problem was that this was the sixth dive bar they patronized tonight, and Rufo had to admit he might have had a little too much to drink. Like, that accomplishes the exact same thing without assuming your audience are a bunch of mouth breathing morons. Like, what are we doing? Context is important. You've already established that, hey, they are bar hopping, they're drinking, they probably shouldn't be, but they have been. Like there's enough connective tissue that he's already established that he doesn't need this verbal trick. All right, good luck, man. That's why it was so concerning that he and Scotty had found the bastards. They're right over there, Rufo said in a harsh whisper that might have been too loud. Scotty shushed Rufo, and they were almost, certainly, in parentheses, too loud about that too. What do you mean they're right there? So again, you're doing this thing where it's like you've already established the characters have been overindulging. So let me read that again without the parentheses word. Scotty shushed Rufo and was almost too loud about that too. So like you're picturing these two. So like the picture that I'm in, that I have in my head, is these two guys hunched over a table, and they're talking, like they're doing that, like they're doing like a stage whisper to each other because they think they're being clever, but they're both like zooted, just completely plastered off their asses. There's like, there's the guys over there, and then the guy's like, don't be so loud, you know. So that's the kind of, so like we have this image in our head. You don't need to do this trick with the language. So basically they see these guys, they're going around, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do we talk to these guys, how do we engage these guys, how we kind of apply them for information. So one of the guys, he goes up to the bar, and this is where the weird pronoun stuff happens. And I don't know about anybody else, but when you use they to describe a singular person, that's really disorienting for me, because it's fake and made up and not how language works. He raised a finger to the bartender of indeterminate gender. Regardless, they were very cute. Come on, man. And again, this whole chapter reads like if Brian Young wrote, like, it was like, it's gonna bother me. Just 1 second, please. Hold, please. Who wrote the original Roadhouse movie? So the 1989 classic action film Roadhouse was written by David Lee Henry under the pen name R. Lance Hill and Hilary Henkin. So this is Brian Young's Roadhouse chapter, but it's like, imagine these two writers that wrote this amazing, classic, absolutely just iconic, culturally relevant movie. Imagine if both of these people suffered severe brain damage and then decided to write Roadhouse. This is that chapter. So regardless, they were very cute. Come over here. Hey, come over here. Fucking nice about it, dude. Jesus. What do you need? They said. Their voice was smooth as silk. It was like catnip. If Rufo were a cat, a panther, obviously, he would just roll around in it. So, like, he's writing this guy being gross and drunk and horny. And it's like, bro, what are we doing? And also the fact that Brian Young assigns traits to this kind of gender ambiguous person, where you can just picture it in your head. And it's like, oh, I bet they're awful. I bet they're an awful, boring human being to talk to, and I bet all they talk about is their gender identity and like being oppressed. Like the slim bartender. I've never seen a slim non-binary person. So this is fucking science fiction. Had an angular face and wore their hair in an overgrown pixie cut, the color of midnight. And he keeps doing this with the parentheses bullshit. If it were like a dark and perfect blue. So like this person, they're slim, they're kind of a tomboyish build, for lack of a better term, and they have like dark blue hair. So instead of just injecting this weird parentheses of like, if it were like a dark and perfect blue, oh yeah, dude, I have no clue what's happening here. I just don't even know, dude. Their eyes were ringed with black makeup with lips darkened to match, and they wore fingerless leather gloves that ran halfway up their arms. Rufo's heart skipped when they looked into his eyes. I was hoping for a soda water, not a gin and tonic. Oh, your boyfriend ordered it for you, they said, gesturing at Scotty. He's not my boyfriend, and he doesn't know what's good for me. And it just continues with the parentheses bullshit. They smiled wide, as though, parenthesis, maybe, in parenthesis, they were delighted to hear Rufo was single. Parenthesis, he hoped, parenthesis, I'll get you a soda water, love. So they smiled wide, as though they were delighted to hear that Rufo was single. So like you can just delete. So like if you were to read this book, don't. I'm doing that for you. I'm doing this for you so you don't have to. You could just omit those words as you're reading it, and literally nothing about this chapter changes, except it makes this Rufo guy sound like a super creep. But if you wanted him to be like a drunk creep, a drunk guy who's creeping on this bartender, you could have done that. You could just say he gets lecherous when he gets drunk. You could have established that character trait early on, and just like it'd be weird, but you could do it. So basically they go back and forth. And when I say they, I mean the bartender and Rufo, not just the bartender. So the bartender and Rufo go back and forth, doing this weird drunk flirting. Like, it's like, have you ever seen those guys at the bar that like the bartender is she's being like super nice to him because that's her job, to be super nice to you so that she gets better tips? That's what this reads like, but this guy is being a drunk asshole, and he thinks that this genderless person in front of him is trying to come on to him, which is like, okay, that doesn't make any sense. Well, I mean, it does make any sense. It does make sense. Basically, this entire chapter is just gross. So he's going back and forth trying to get more information, like, hey, what do you know? What have you heard? Have you heard any rumors? And then, so at one point he says, can I ask a question? Go ahead, they said, swiping the script and pocketing it, then rubbing the bar in front of him suggestively with a towel. Maybe it wasn't suggestive. Maybe it wasn't suggestively. Maybe it was parenthesis, totally, in parenthesis, the booze. So again, you don't have to put that there. You could have left it ambiguous, like maybe it wasn't suggestive, or maybe it was the booze talking. Like you don't have to play this visual tricks with the writing with the parenthesis bullshit. Those mercs over there, you know anything about him? Their eyes darted over to the conflagration of mercenaries. Were they a conflagration, a murder, a swarm, a school? Was there a term for a grouping of mercenaries, a parliament? There should be a word like that. A crash of mercenaries, a thunder. Okay. Oh, I don't know. He's just padding out the word count. That's the only thing I can imagine. They call themselves. Now, before I sound like an asshole, I am going to Google how to translate, how to say this. To English. Okay. Okay. Le pain agile. Agile? It must be French. So, they call themselves... I don't know why I slowed it down like that. They've been stationed in Sage for like a month. Why? The what? Apparently, it means the agile rabbits. At least that's what they said. They're from Fedsun space originally. Most of them speak French or something. They've got accents, you know. You know what they're here for? The bartender sneered. What are any of the mercs here for? The bastards? That stung Rufo. That stung. But Rufo wasn't like those mercs. He didn't want anything bad to happen. He didn't want to let the do whatever they wanted. He needed to find out more so he could build up a dossier on them to take to the rest of the ghost dogs. Guys, look, I'm not like the rest of the guys, right? I'm not like the rest of the mercenaries. I actually care. Even though 2 chapters ago, this character was like actually thinking about it from a mercenary perspective. But like, he's totally one of the good guys. This is fucking male feminist trapdoor spider bullshit. So he's basically, he's riffing back and forth with this chick or this person, and his friend comes over with a tray of shots for the. So he takes the shots over to these guys, and he tries to like chat them up. All raised their whiskeys and repeated to new friends, and just like that. Just like the bartender, whose name and number Rufo still desperately wanted, said they had Fedsun's accents, cartoon thick. So again, so you could have, there's so many better ways that you could have constructed this. Like you could have said, you know, just like the bartender said, they had Fedsun accents. The accents were almost cartoonishly thick, and Rufo realized he still needed to get the so, and just like the bartender, whose name and number Rufo still, so you could have restructured it without the parenthesis bullshit. You could have said, raised all their whiskeys and repeated to new friends, and just like the bartender said, they had Fedsun's they had cartoonishly thick Fedsun's accents, which reminded Rufo he still needed to get the bartender's name and phone number. Like you could have handled that without this parentheses like internal monologue bullshit. Yeah, Gavin, we're getting there. There's actually the last chapter here is actually probably the least offensive and probably one of the more interesting ones because it actually deals with the stay behinds from the Jade Falcons. So they're talking to these guys. They're trying to figure out, hey, what brings you here? Blah blah blah. Who are you working for? And they're like, yeah, we're working for the Lyrans, and you know, so they're kind of bantering back and forth, and it's just like, you know, kind of nothing. And then he goes back to the bar. Rufo staggers back to the bar, and the bartender they glowered at him. So like when you use they like that, that indicates there's more than one person at the bar that's giving you a dirty look, but it's just the one dude. They glowered at him. What can I get you? Hey, it's not what it looks like. I see you and your buddy sucking up to those scummy marks. No, it's not what it looks like. We're just trying to get information. We're the heroes here, promise. More important than that, I was really wondering what your name was. So, you just blow OPSEC to try to get in good with the bartender that you want to bang. Like, what are we doing here? Like, that kind of makes, I don't know, it doesn't even make sense. Like, the whole thing is they shouldn't be drunk during this. They should be trying to play it up or play it as an act, and just be like, oh yeah, we'll drink with you, and just doing like water shots. But instead they're getting full bore, face to the floor plastered. And they hit him with an unimpressed look, their head tilted with incredulity writ plain on their face like a book. Again, it makes it sound like there's more than one person. So, like, reading the they them pronoun bullshit is making this really hard to follow, because it's like he's talking to two people and they're both giving him this treatment. They nodded down at their name tag. Folks call me Ransom. Rufo wanted to ask if they could ransom his friendship or number, but figured they'd got enough of that sort of treatment. That's actually fairly clever. That's kind of like a James Bond-esque kind of line. So, broken clock tells the right time twice a day. Good job, Brian. So they kind of keep talking about, and he's trying to figure out what's going on. And so finally he gets a pen from this individual, and he wrote, "This is my comm signature. If you want to get a hold of me, this should work no problem. If you hear anything about these guys or them moving out or where they are, you let me know." So he throws this person this napkin with his number on it and a few extra bucks, and all of a sudden he kind of turns around, and his buddy is getting the shit kicked out of him by the what are these mercenary called? Thank you, Google. So he sees that these guys are getting rowdy, and he says, "Knock it off!" Rufo shouted louder than he intended, because the fight stopped like it dropped a bomb, and all eyes turned towards him to find out who was shouting. The bar went silent, and the only sound in Bert's Mecha Lounge was Rufo. Even the music died. If he hadn't been so drunk and scared these Fed rats were going to kill him and Scotty, Rufo would have even found it humorous. Probably not for a while, though. Time plus tragedy equals comedy. So, again, with the parentheses thing, he's really fond of parentheses in this chapter. The shout died away. Rufo looked at them all. They all looked back at him. Confusion reigned in Bert's Mecha Lounge. As if the scene were out of a bad Duncan Treat Hollywood film, the music picked up loud. Scotty and Rufo both went on the attack to the sound of the beat, laying into the closest. Maybe the bartender would know he was serious this way, at least, and was not a goddamn rabid sympathizer. So he's trying to write the cinematic scene where he's like, knock it off, and then the music dies, like, even though it would never die, because it's not a live band. It's like music, the Intersphere equivalent of Muzak, right? Like, that's not what would happen. Like, you could have wrote it to be like, after he yelled that, he realized what he had done, and it sucked all the sound out of the room. Because, like, have you ever had that where you're doing something stupid, or like you're about to do something stupid, and you say something you shouldn't, or you do something you shouldn't, and like everybody in the room realizes you're a fucking retard, and just the sound gets sucked out of your ears, like your ears go muffled, and it's like you don't know what's going. You're like, oh shit, everybody's looking at me. Like, he could have written that And instead, he's making it sound like the bar fight scene from Sonic the Hedgehog, the first one, if you're familiar with that. So basically, they go back and forth. They roll with these guys, and he continues with this oppressive parentheses bullshit. So he basically grabs his buddy, and they run off. And as they're running off, before they made it out, he looked back to Ransom and he looked back at Ransom and make direct. Rufo ran Scotty toward the door, but before they made it out, he looked back to Ransom and make direct parenthesis breathtaking in parenthesis eye contact. That's just a badly structured sentence. Call me, he shouted. A shot glass shattered beside his head on the door frame as he lurched out under the hot blast of Timkovichi night air, muggy and moist. Moist. Parenthesis, H-E-H apostrophe, moist, in parenthesis. He didn't like it, the feeling, not the word. Rufo was fine with the word. He didn't like chewing air. But that was the life of a merc who traveled from planet to planet. Sometimes you just chewed air. Rabbits, agile or otherwise, chased behind. As they hit the street, sirens screamed in the distance, but they ran and ran and ran. It was a hell of a way to spend a Saturday, parenthesis, Thursday, in parenthesis, night. See, that would have been more effective if he would just called it a Thursday. That would have been much funnier. Because you're picturing them doing all this hood rat bullshit and getting into bar fights and they're slumming around town, and then all of a sudden, mentally you're like, this sounds like a weekend. This is like Friday Saturday thing, right? And instead, it's a Thursday. It's a day in the middle of the fucking week, and that would have made that joke land better. But instead, he insists on his parentheses nonsense. So, anywho. That brings us to chapter 16, Stepping on the Devil's Tail. So, and again, this is an awkward first sentence to start off on. Radagast, Timkovichi, the Hinterlands, 30th August 3152. Hank took the long walk to the Dutchman's room, trying to banish the memory of that night's nightmares. So, the Dutchman's room. What room? The briefing room? Say the briefing room. You're just saying a room in the Dutchman, in the Flying Dutchman, which is their dropship. So, what are we doing? So basically, he had night terrors, and he's messed up about that. Okay, he calls it a briefing room later in this. So entering the briefing room with a sigh, trying to shake it all off, Hank found his command staff present already, as well as his son. Joining them on Holovid were the contacts from Meyer and Istari, Susanna Stonehawker and Justin Bolger. Oh, there is an exceptional amount of rooms on a dropship. So again, in case you missed it from last week, we had a character that's some Peter Parker, Marvel Golden Age naming bullshit, like Mary Jane and Peter Parker. Susanna Stonehawker, because she owns a tabletop gaming store and she sells dice. She's a Stonehawker. Can't believe this guy got paid to write this dreck. Anyways, so he goes in and he's up in his fields because he sees his old friend Justin, who survived the fall of Timkovichi from the initial Jade Falcon ward criming, and his son, who's been estranged from him for a decade. And then so he's looking at all these people, and he's trying to read the room, whatever, leaning back. And then finally, the man himself, leaning at the back of the room, arms folded with a foot rested on the wall like he was some sort of old cowboy on a novel cover, was the troubadour himself, Tom Frost. He looked as scraggly and scruffy as he had at the diner, wearing a denim jacket and a pork pie hat with graying curls spilling out from the edges. Normally, Hank wouldn't trust a guy like Tom Frost to be in a briefing like this, but every iota of information he provided had been accurate so far. And there was something comforting about him, especially the way of talking and thinking. They need to keep him boxed operationally so he couldn't leak anything. But, okay, they need to help. Okay, especially his way of talking and thinking. They'd need to keep him boxed operationally so he couldn't leak anything, but Hank felt secure enough to have him around to document the big picture. So, let's see. Let's see if I can find the appropriate Wojak for what I think this guy looks like. Let's see. Google, you are bullshit right now. I'm trying to find. You ever look for a Wojak and you just can't find the correct meme? In a hat. Let's see if I can find. So like. So I'm picturing Tom Frost looking like this, except with a trilby. Like, so if you can picture that in your head, like it would be this Wojak with a trilby. That's Tom Frost. At least that's my interpretation of it. Store have stock after 10 years of Falcon rule. Surely they would have not let local factories make such a luxury item. Again, don't know. Never explained. So anywho, they begin kind of talking about what's going on, and they're like, hey, what happened on recon? And then Tom Frost literally does the Milady hat tip and says, pleased to be in such august company. Timkovichi is in very capable hands. I'll tell you. I don't know if I should affect a country twang for this asshole or not, because it sounds like he's trying to be like too cool for school, like some sort of old cowboy, but like he's just some dickhead in a silly hat. So he starts talking to Rufo, and Rufo basically says, hey, this is what we learned about them. These guys are called the translated as the Agile Rabbits. They hail originally from Feds on Space. They only have 3 mechs, but that doesn't mean they aren't dangerous. However, in addition to their mechs, they have a full complement of tanks, both treaded and hover varieties, all well armed and infantry capability. They are a newer unit, but headed by a named man Barnabas Arsenault. Tom Frost chuckled. Sounds like some old sea pirate in an even older book. Okay. Thanks, Tom, for that valuable insight. That's the thing. It's critical you don't notice anything in this fucking book. Like, don't notice the plot holes. Yeah, me too, man. That's why I'm here reading this piece of shit. So they're talking back and forth, and basically Rufo is being cagey. It says, yes, Colonel, I've also made contact there, codenamed Blackmail. I'm going to meet them tonight to get more information, but they're willing to feed us deployment information about the as well as any other intelligence overheard in their position. What position is that? Rufo grinned. I'd rather not say, sir. OPSEC and all that. Like, dude, like, I would have said, I am literally your superior officer. Everyone in this room has the ability to hear what you are doing. Spill the fucking beans, you goddamn degenerate. Like, so Hank shrugged. If Rufo wanted to play spy, that was fine. All right, go ahead and put together what information you can on your excursion, but I want a full update tomorrow. So he's basically like, yeah, go bang this lady boy that's feeding you information and the Mecha dive bar. Just give me the information. I don't want to hear about your extracurricular activities. Again, it goes back to the way that Hank is written as a character, which is extremely conflict avoidant, and he seems to lack all authority or desire to exercise that authority. Like I'm just picturing it, like I'm trying to write, like if I were writing Hank Mallory, and I know that Rufo is a degenerate fuck up, I would say, okay, who's this person? Okay, they're a bartender. Okay, why are they reliable? Well, they come to the bar all the time and they talk really loud and they talk about where they're going, where they're at, etc. Okay, fine. Get me, that's end of conversation. You don't have to like I'll second all this. And it's like, dude, I don't care. I don't care if you two are banging. Just get me the info. Just don't be weird about it. All right, dude. So Rufo's twinkling eyes gave Hank the distinct impression that the captain thought he was pulling one over on the old man. But ultimately, it wouldn't matter. Rufo would be there when Hank needed him. He wouldn't give the man so many liberties otherwise. Whatever, dude. So he talks to the Raven chick and the other that went into the weird Three Frogs Tavern, and it turns out that he got roped into a literal live action role play that happens at that bar. So they weren't actually meeting any resistance; they were meeting. So I'll let her say it. The tip to the waitstaff in exchange for information they intimated they had. Unfortunately, we had not realized that the Three Frogs Tavern was an interactive, immersive gaming experience. A what? We met a member of a resistance, Colonel Raven said. However, they were resisting a fictional tyrant king and wanted us to do various puzzles to escape the back room where they'd meet us to help. It was a game. I jumped the gun when I sent that first message. So, like, that's actually kind of funny. Again, a broken clock telling the time twice a day. Like, I don't know that that's worth it for a... Like, I don't know that a whole, like, a third of a chapter should be dedicated to setting up a fucking one paragraph punchline, but I don't know. That is the least of this book's many sins. So I'll give it a pass. So they're talking, and then they talk about it, and yes, Gavin, wow indeed. So they go back and forth, and they're just talking about this, and they think it's stupid. Major Escalera, Hank said, turning his floor to his XO. As you are aware, we made contact with, and I had to look this up, MX period Stonehawker. So what the fuck is MX? I've heard of Mr., I've heard of Miss, I've heard of Mrs. What the fuck is MX? Apparently, you pronounce that mix. So it's a gender neutral way of identifying somebody. And then he proceeds to gender her further in the paragraph. So we made contact with Mix Stonehawker, and she was able to give us the disposition of the Lyran Commonwealth House unit station in the city of Maya, as well as more information about our battle in Radagast from her informants here. I will let her share what she knows. So him doing the MX thing is completely irrelevant. like at no point in time was this character ever established as gender neutral. This is just some weird commie linguistic bullshit that he does. So it just and trying to point out these logical fallacies, they just kind of throw, these authors will just throw their hands up and go, oh, you didn't get it, you don't understand. It's like, well, no, that's Gavin, I'm close, dude. I am so fucking close. I was actually contemplating pulling that video of Heels as from Heels versus Babyface. I would have pulled that up and just soak in the nonsense about pronouns. But it's funny because he wasn't doing it up until these last couple of chapters, and it's centered around one of the guys being a drunk horn dog, and now they're addressing this. I assure you, MX is a critical to the plot. Now we know she's in a motocross bike. That's pretty goddamn good. So, anywho, so they go back and forth. They talk about, what the situation is, and, who's doing what to whom. And this Bolger guy, who was on Timkovichi when the hammer came down, he starts talking, and for some reason he's talking like he's from a different generation than the rest of these guys. Like he's the same vintage as Hank Mallory. So, but he says stuff like, since then we've lived under the cruel thumb of the Jade Falcons. They closed the entertainment districts, false, put thousands of people to work in the manufacturing facilities and mines. They censored news and turned our schools into war academies. Hell, they even tried stripping everyone of their last name. When Con Melvina Hazen finally made her fatal bid for Terra, we thought freedom would be in our grasp. And while we haven't had the forces to keep us brutalized like they... Okay, so wait a second. And while they haven't had the forces to keep us brutalized like they had, the Lyrans came to subjugate us as soon as they thought we would be easy pickings. As it's been a constant struggle between the Falcons and the Lyrans, with us dying in between. So we're living under Jade Falcon occupation. Like I don't understand like why he would have phrased any of this like this. Like, this is common knowledge. Like, this is what the Jade Falcons do. This is what every clan does. So there's no reason to restate it. You could have said something interesting like, when Melvina Hazen up sticks for Terra, we thought we would be free. But then the Lyrans came in to fill the gap or fill the void. So now what's funny is they met us. No, they didn't meet. So it's true. Stonehawker added, the Falcons have successfully kept the Lyrans out of Istari, so they remain in Maya and elsewhere. The Lyrans have put the cities in their control under martial law as punishment because they believe the local populace is feeding information to the clans. Why? Yeah, well, so the Stonehawker character just so the Stonehawker character had just kind of implied like they think that the population is feeding information to the Falcons, which doesn't make any sense. Why would they do that? So they start talking about like, hey, who's this mech warrior Coot or Coat? Coote. I don't know how to pronounce that. Is mech warrior Coot. There's little record of him prior to the Jade Falcon move to Terra. He is unremarkable, and from what we can piece together, he is not an adherent of Melvina Hazen's Mongol doctrine, and he was not an exceptional warrior. It seems he either won a number of minor trials or barely lost several major trials, just enough to maintain his position. He's almost Saloma age, making him likely too old to follow the Jade Falcons to their fatal glory on Terra. He's been on He's been more even-handed and fair-minded than our reports of General Hellgate, which comes as a surprise to us. Our experiences with her, we characterize her as cruel, ruthless, and without regard for civilian life. So, yeah, exactly. When that's never been a thing, like because that's never been like the absence of proof is not the proof of absence, right? So like just because there's no like bunch of alphabet people running around in BattleTech and previous novels doesn't mean they weren't part of the universe always, and that wasn't like just a civil liberty that people had, because it would be, especially in like a post modern interplanetary society, like the only thing that would kind of restrict that would be like social or like religious reasons, like social taboo or like religious taboo. There's really no reason for like a government in the inner sphere to like crack down on that. It just doesn't make sense because it would be unenforceable at that scale. Like you have so many bigger problems to worry about than people buggering each other. Like it just doesn't make any sense. Um so anyways, but Coot has maintained control of the city and denied it both from the Lyrans and the Timkovichians, who demand governance. The Falcons control the city center, the spaceport, and major shipping lanes, and exact tolls on anything they can. Coot has apparently not gotten the memo that the Falcons don't exist anymore, at least not Malvina Hazen's Jade Falcons, and is still stockpiling supplies for when they turn back to their former occupation zone. Frankly, it's absurd to think they'll need it, but he is a hammer and he sees all the problems only as nails, so he beats away at them. If you wanted a story about alphabets getting oppressed to go to the Confederacy or the Kaiman, the state would definitely stop that because it doesn't help the state. Yeah, or I don't know. I've done a couple of thought experiments about like, okay, what would a story gain from a character being LGBTQIA plus. So like I was thinking about that, and there's definitely some interesting hooks, and like I don't know if like Brian Young or Russell Zimmerman wants me to like shoot him an email like, hey, I've got some interesting story hooks for you, if you need them, because the story hooks that you guys are coming up with are fucking dog shit. So anyway, so we're actually getting to the next chapter, Bloodsy, and it's funny because this Mike Warrior Coot, he's actually a fairly straightforward character to kind of get to grips with and understand. So at the end of this meeting, they basically are like, well, this sucks. We're gonna have to use like leverage every kind of dirty trick in the book to try to make this work. And then, Tom Frost pipes up, took a loud, sharp breath, and clapped his hands. Ooh-wee, I like this. Like stepping on the devil's tail. It's going to be dangerous, but it'll pay off. But the payoff will be worth it, don't you think? Like, why does he sound like a complete hate? It just sounds like he's LARPing. Like, I want to go up to Tom Frost and like flip his hat off his stupid fucking head and say, knock it off. You're not cool. So that gets us to, part 4, Rain Dogs, and chapter 17, Drawing Blood from a Stone. And this is where we get introduced to McWarrior Coot properly. And again, he's somehow more interesting than all the other characters in this book put together. So basically, he's frustrated. He's like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta do some mech work. I gotta get some reps in on my mech because this sucks and I can't. He's basically extremely frustrated. Whereas like he's in this odd lopsided logistical position where he has almost as much material and weaponry and stuff that he needs, but at the same time he has nothing that can immediately help him. Like, he doesn't have enough warriors, he doesn't have enough mechs, he doesn't have enough spare parts. So he's basically just producing stuff to produce it in hopes that the Falcons will come back one day. And he's kind of mulling this over in his head, like, what if the rumors are true? What if the Falcons are dead? What if Malvina Hazen is dead? Do we just call it quits and try to join them on Terra? Or do we wait here? Because he's like, if we go to Terra, the wolves are going to kill us. And if we stay here, if we abandon our post and Malvina comes back, Malvina's going to kill us. So he's like, what the best I can do is try to maintain, the status quo. So he hops in to yeah, but Raymond, yeah. It do feel like that sometimes, doesn't it? So he's as he's getting his mech, this other mech warrior named Bologna comes up, and she's like, "Hey, we got a convoy being attacked. We gotta stop the Lyrans." So because it's the Lyrans fighting after him. So they go out and they're squaring off against these Lyrans, in air quotes, because I don't believe they're actually Lyrans. And he sees this Jade Falcon, or this fire moth with big green X spray painted on the torso, and it's actually actively defending the convoy from the other mechs. And the other mechs, they kind of put up a little bit of a fight, and then they fuck off. So Coot and Bologna, they're like, "Oh, should we pursue?" And he's like, "If we leave, they could double back. One of the mechs could double back, kill the fire moth, and wreck the trucks. So no, we're gonna hold it here. We're gonna keep an eye on the fire moth, and we're gonna not risk losing the convoy." So Coot watched the Lyran battle mechs fade into the rain and turned his attention back to the fire moth and the convoy. He opened up a wideband broadcast frequency. "Fire moth pilot, identify yourself." "Please do not shoot," the voice said. "I am mech warrior Chingmai of Clan Jade Falcon. I wish to join you." A thrill ran along Coot's spine. His prayers had been answered. So, to kind of summarize, Chingmai, she's the kind of the main Jade Falcon cadet that they captured, and she's been like the point of focus for these 3 Jade Falcons that were captured, and she really doesn't have personality. Like, none of these clans have really a personality. Mech Warrior Coot has more personality than all 3 of the extant Jade Falcon characters put together, and then along with quite a few of the other ones. So I'll give Brian credit. He wrote a more interesting character than pretty much anybody else in the book, and he's a Jade Falcon, which is very ironic considering this is a book about these plucky mercenaries doing stuff. So, man, so let's see here. So this book that I'm reading is a way worse version of Mercenary Star by William H. Keith. And that book was published in 1987, so that's 26, quite a long time ago. So I'm reading a much worse version of this. This is it's just not that interesting. And all these characters can best be described as not quite a mile wide, but definitely an inch deep. He thinks he's writing something profound with these characters about especially Hank Mallory, who basically has PTSD. He has nightmares, and he gets triggered. He gets triggered by shit, and it's man, do I even say here? It's like he has this weird trauma response, but it's nothing. It's not like, I don't know. It's not like any kind of like typical. Like there's so many more interesting ways that you could write somebody going through survivor's guilt, post-traumatic stress, that kind of thing. This guy is written as if like the Siege of Timkovichi, like he has nightmares about it because similar to the way somebody would have yeah, so it's like how she would have nightmares of being burned alive in a mech, and she was deathly afraid of fire, right? So like if you have like there's actually in Skybound Comics, they are doing a run of Transformers comics up until like issue 25, when they got taken over by a male feminist, and all of a sudden Alita 1 is now a prime, and it's like got the matrix of leadership, which is like, what the fuck? But anyways, up until that point, they find Ultra Magnus on Cybertron, and they basically put him back together because he was being tortured for like centuries by Shockwave. And so they get him back in the fight. He shows up. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna be my RC Magnus. I thought it was Alita 1. I didn't think it was RC. I thought it was Alita 1. But anywho, so he shows up to this fight. He starts to square up. He takes one look at Shockwave and he fucking books. He just leaves. Like, he doesn't say anything. He just is like, I can't do this. And then he just leaves, right? Like, that would have been a profound moment for this character. Shut the fuck up. Really, dude? Oh my god. Ugh. I'm glad I stopped reading that before it got garbage. Anywho, so that would have been an interesting thing, because, as far as we know, Hank hasn't really squared off against the Falcons since that day, where you could have a great character moment where he first squares up against the Falcons at Radagast, and he starts to have he either goes, too aggressive, or he becomes, oh wow, that's even worse. Oof. All right, I'm really glad I stopped reading those comics. So anyways, you could have had Hank as like having like that kind of response, where he is like, he's not actively participating. He's basically like hiding behind buildings, telling his Lance what to do. Meanwhile, he's sweating and he's afraid, and he's not trying to bail on the situation. Like, he's really, really fighting every instinct he has to just like take off and run. And then you have that throughout the rest of the book, is you kind of have him trying to overcome that. He had a little bit about that in one of the chapters where they were kind of surveilling the Jade Falcons, and he saw these two clan elementals, and he started like walking towards them like he was going to do something. And that's the interesting thing. That would have been, instead of him being kind of like afraid of the Falcons, he gets too aggressive. He gets kill crazy. He goes nuts. Like he kind of did in that, but we haven't had that from him. So it seems like his response to this external trauma is very selective. So, but yeah, holy shit, these 3 chapters. So we had the Roadhouse episode, we had the briefing where everybody gets cozy and talks about what they found out, which didn't have to be a fucking chapter. And then we had the brief introduction to MechWarrior Coat, which was, really, really introduced a more interesting character, to be perfectly honest with you. So that's about it. That's all the gas I got in the tank for today, guys. Today was a long, hard pull for me. So I'm doing something different. I've got my Ko-fi link in the bio. I also have a StreamYards, Streamlabs um link as well for donations. So if you guys want to, I hate doing the calls to action, but it helps me in the algorithm. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. It helps me spread the stream more. We're getting consistently about 8 or 9 peak viewers. I want to see if I can get 10. So hopefully next week when I go back to kind of a regular stream schedule, I should be able to make that work. Or should hopefully uh, be able to do that. So because I really enjoy sharing this stuff with you guys. And I really want to go into that wargaming library next Wednesday. So thank you guys very much for showing up. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great night. I always love talking to you guys. Thank you so much, and thanks for listening. I will see you guys next Wednesday. Have a great night.